Welcome back to the Claw Pod. I'm the AntMan. He's Ross. He is Marshall. I don't know why I do this every time, and I've said this at the beginning of a couple. Let's start doing it this way. It's Ross, Marshall. Yes, screen there.
It'd be cool if your pen went through my screen and all the way in.
We'll coordinate that next time. Right now, we're just trying to get online with the crazy weather in Texas. This is not. This is the reason we live in Texas, is to avoid weather like we're having right now. But I mean, you didn't have this in Hawaii, did you?
No, not like this. It's 20, man. It's like it feels like 9 though, because the wind, man. The wind is insane. I'm loving it though, because I know Antonio gets so hot that I know thinking of this, just a hot traffic drives 5 minutes not moving. I said, you're gonna believe it or not, this is better than hot. I mean, I'd rather be cold than hot.
Would you? Yeah. You can always warm up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Today we're talking about heels, and the winter weather is the heel right now. The winter, the heel of all heels is this wind. That's for sure.
Darn cold weather.
It's getting heat right now.
Exactly. There's some great heels back in your dad and uncle's territory days. There's lots of great heels. I think that the separation between good heels and great heels, the chasm is a little bit bigger now than it used to be. There was just it feels like that back in the day that there was just an MO or a cue sheet of how a heel would act. You want to be a great heel, and everybody that was a heel did, they picked, if there were 5 things, they picked 3 of the 5 and lived by those. If there were 10, they picked 7 of the 10 and lived by those. And you could see it in the ring. You could see it as they walked to the ring, left the ring, maybe even in the parking lot after the show was over with. I've heard of guys getting their tires slashed. Do you have any stories that you've heard of heels just in real life, sitting at a Denny's getting harassed?
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, Marshall, you first.
I just know my dad's told us this crazy stuff just from his day or whatever, but just from our fair share of stuff. It's, people have access to the internet, so you don't think it's going to be that bad. But yeah, we've seen people throw, like, I feel bad because we'll be taking an Uber, and if a fan's mad enough, throw the worst. We've seen throw a shake through the window in the guy's Uber, and we're all in there and stuff. And so I just felt bad for the driver and all that. Heel was drunk. I mean, not the heel, the fan was drunk. Yeah. And I think the heel was in the back seat, didn't even get hit or anything, untouched. Me and Ross got shake on us, and
our shirts ruined and stuff.
Yeah.
So in this instance, the fan was the heel. That's what you're trying to say.
Basically.
And my question is, why are y'all riding with a heel? That's not allowed.
Yeah, I know, man.
Well, we're MLW, and there's some budgets.
Everybody shared cars. Absolutely.
It's called Uber.
Doesn't mean you have to get along. Just means you have to share a ride.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, there were some. I've heard stories. I
liked how they stayed true to that. Honestly, in the 80s, it's fun. It's fun to believe. It's fun to and as a little kid too, it kind of ruins it when you see the heel and baby face, hanging out, having a cigarette together after the show, or whatever. You're like, dang, man.
I remember, I guess Dad was telling the story one time, but I guess Gino got his tires slashed on his Corvette when he just got it, and
day one, right?
He said it was so perfect, his reaction, because all the fans were out there, and he was just throwing a huge temper tantrum, throwing rocks at his car, kicking the tire, like yelling, just making a huge scene, drawing attention to himself. And so he gave everybody that satisfaction.
Dad said he really was he was made for it, because he said he was just kind of entitled and spoiled a little bit. You could tell.
Yeah. But
his emotions with his hand gestures pretty well. Natural.
Yeah, I bet. Sign language, right?
Yeah.
What in your mind, Ross, I want to start with you. In your mind, give me 3 things that make a great heel?
Man, there's some bit of natural just instinct you have to have, like the great ones, I think. But man, just to keep it general, I would say your timing would be a big one. Maybe
in what manner with timing? What do you mean by that?
Just when to do certain things, like the when to deliver the bad
Sounds
the
like
bad
he's making
news
stuff up. Like he doesn't have an answer.
I really don't. Hey, Marshall, why don't you go and then I'll generate my answer.
I feel like you by nature, you know what a heel needs to do, because in matches we know what it feels like when we wrestle heels that aren't good at being heels. You know,
right?
Like we've wrestled. I think the hardest heel to wrestle is a heel that is in between, where he doesn't. He's like, I'm an edgy heel, so I'm not. I don't do dumb stuff, because Ross and I, we have the best time with heels that are okay with looking stupid, you know, crotching themselves on the ropes, jaw jacking with the crowd. That's what the fans, you know, they want to see. They go home happy. But when you get the in-betweener, the guy that dresses in all black, but he's not really a heel or whatever, they always get mad, bro. You're a baby face, dude. Yeah, like you're not a heel. If you're like edgy and cool, you know, because I think they're going for the Rock and Steve Austin kind of blurred the lines, because they were rugged, like baby face heels, kind of.
I know. I noticed in our matches, the crowd always reacts well to the guys that are interactive with the crowd. They're actively, you know, they're picking on somebody or something, and every move they're doing is deliberate, you know, like at a body part, and they just know certain, just how to really piss the crowd off. And
but the heel is so important. The heel is so important, because if you're wrestling like a heel with no experience, it really is like determines how the whole match is going to go. And like, I honestly feel like the heel's the more experienced guy. The heel should be the more experienced guy. He kind of can take control of the match. I mean, you can make a green guy that's only been in the business for a year a baby face, and you know, he can do his drop kicks, he can tell his story, he can definitely get sympathy, and it's up to the heel about, you know, how hated can you get to get this kid over. It really is the dance.
You know, the things that you say on text or behind closed doors, or, you know, just casual conversation, the truths that you bring up, heels take those public, and they say, I mean, there's so let's take, for example, and I don't want to give anything away about who we pick for best heels, but let's take the not the current storyline with Kevin Owens, but with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, was just things he was saying to Cody. I think it was a Raw or SmackDown, obviously, but I don't remember which show it was. But Cody's in the ring, Kevin comes through the crowd and stays outside the ring, never makes it. That's one of the other things, is they always seem like that they like to talk, but they don't like to be close. Like, I'm not going to come say it to your face standing 3 feet away from you, but I will say it out in the crowd, where I'm, you know, 20 yards, 30 yards away, and there's you would have to chase me to come get me after. Yeah, they feel a little more safe to speak their mind. But the problem is that when they tell the truth and you start going, that's actually, he's got a great point there, and you still don't cheer him, but you go, I can kind of see what he's talking about. And Kevin did that in promos with Cody, or that specific promo, because he was bringing up things that were like, well, I mean, if you twist it, that is truth. If you look at it from just a diluted angle, which Kevin was, yes, I could see that, and that's why you're angry. And it's the single reason that he was turning on Cody. And Cody, it had to do with Cody teaming up with Roman Reigns after battling Roman for what seemed like 2 years, and ends up teaming up with him. And he's like, I just don't understand how you can do it for you. Us, we all backed you. We all helped you. And now you're teaming with him. That's unforgivable. And you kind of go, well, what if my friend did that? What if I was stuck by my friend and they went and did something to help my enemy? Yeah. I mean, I would be pissed off too. And so then they turn around and do something that's just dastardly, like, you know, package pile driver on him for no reason, or just, you know, attacking him from behind when he's not looking. And that really helps, you know, that helps solidify them as a heel. But, you know, the comments, the truth is what kind of makes you think a little bit. And they're just honest. That's the thing, is I don't feel a babyface is really honest all the time. A heel always is, to an error. You know, they'll be honest about the things that where the heel or where the babyface would say, bless your heart, the heel says the real thing that you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
say
Yeah,
Buster.
the heel kind of exploits the baby faces like not manners, but just like their their good-heartedness,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, it's just like
And Ross, remember we were talking about this the other day, dude, like how we enjoyed, heels from the 80s a little more because it seems like today, I don't know if it's because of the internet, but these heels will go so personal and deep, nowadays. And it's like actual personal stuff that's like going on. And I mean, as a wrestler, I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy getting people so involved in our personal life, all that stuff. But I mean, as a fan, it sells, and I'm super excited to see it. I get
keep building without killing the baby face, like because that can happen,
there isn't
and then people will lose interest. Like, yeah, this guy, he's kind of right, and then people are just kind of with him.
We know a heel that is so good at healing that we've seen him ruin two guys' careers because of how deep he went, and those guys never came back. And I think it's the heels. I don't know. I'm sure he knows, but he's great at it. But it's just some guys you could use, I feel like, discretion a little bit.
Yeah.
Should at least have a conversation before.
Yeah.
Let's jump into them. We're gonna go. I'm gonna go through like so I know we grew up in little different times. Your main grow up was during the Attitude Era. Mine was in your dad and Uncle. So I'll start with just when I grew up. The guy who scared me. Now there were lots of great heels, especially during that time. We're talking about the 80s. But I'll say that the one that always stood out to me because he scared me, whether he was on TV or whether it was in person, because I witnessed both with him. And even when I saw him live, I never was closer than, half a football field away from him. I was never closer than that, 50 yards away. But the one-man gang scared me to death.
Really?
On TV and in person. Maybe so more in person because he could get to me, right? Yes, it was a long shot in a arena full of 5,000 to 8,000 people or whatever it was. He wasn't going to single me out, I'm sure. But he scared me every time that I saw him. I'm talking about like when I'm about 8 years old, 7 years old, something like that.
That's justifiable. Wow. I think that's a smart 8-year-old. He has good senses.
Away from one man gang. Let me ask you this: were maybe not your pick of the heel when you're growing up right at this moment, but was there ever a heel when you were growing up that scared you like that?
Man, I would say Undertaker, definitely. Like,
did he?
That was like, like I would shut off the lights and be like, or no, Kane. Like Marshall was terrified of Kane.
Well, because of the setting, the setting, we were sneaking VHS tapes watching this. My dad found out we were watching it, so he brought us, and Kane had just been introduced as the brother in his debut, and so it was like so fun to be a fan at that time. But Ross and I, we were at that age, and it scared the dog crap out of us, man. We walked in there, and he was sitting I literally watched him murder Boss Man like the night before. I thought he hung him or whatever.
Hung him, sure.
Yeah. And I was sitting there, I was like, Dad, he killed so-and-so. And then I see Undertaker. He came up to my dad and showed so much respect. My dad looked so cool to me after that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, same for you, Ross.
Yeah. I mean,
or you said Undertaker. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure. As far as just like overall
scary.
I mean, you got to say like, Ric Flair, obviously, but I think during the Attitude Era, Edge, man,
Ric Flair scared you?
No,
you're just saying he's a good heel. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm just saying he's a good heel. Yeah. Oh, scared me. Yeah, if we're just saying scared.
Undertaker is more of a scary heel. I think methodical, like Ric Flair is just classic, but a guy that didn't get very much credit, I think maybe he does get credit, but I think the Miz is a really, really good heel, and he's gonna be one of those guys that will be appreciated when he's gone, probably.
You were scared of Flair. Ross, I know you're scared of Ric Flair. You're afraid he's going to steal your girl.
Here we go, man. I misspoke.
Ross scared of everything, man.
Here we go.
Attitude Era. If I had to pick one person that was, I would say, is defined heel in that whole era. There were a lot of guys, and because but it also like Marshall, I believe you mentioned this, that Stone Cold and The Rock really blurred the line on what that was. A cool heel. Those guys were cool heels. They were reciting lines The Rock was saying. They were doing the same hand gestures as Stone Cold Steve Austin because he identified with guys that were hard workers and wanted to flip off their boss but couldn't, and wanted to drink beer every night after they were done. That's a face for sure. If you're identifying with the audience and the audience is identifying with you, that right there, I think just makes your face. True. But I think you always have to have the alternative, the opposite side of that. And for me, it was the boss, Vince McMahon, in the Attitude Era. I think we would have had the Stone Cold. We would have had a Stone Cold. I don't think we would have had the Stone Cold that we know now without the boss figure being there. And just it wasn't long, it wasn't forever, it wasn't even really deep because Vince couldn't really go that deep. But as far as in ring, but things that he could do because he owned the company was stuff that you could fear that a boss would do in your work. If you don't want to show up and work some overtime, all right, well, how about you work on Christmas, or how about whatever.
Yes.
And there were things that he would do to Stone Cold that it's like, man, if my boss did that, I would love to smack him with a chair too.
Dude, it's whoever thought of that was because that's here's a demographic we haven't really targeted, people that are pissed off at their bosses, and that's a big group, that's a big audience. And I remember when Steve Austin, that funny skit where Vince was in the hospital bed, comes out and he beats him up and all that stuff. Like that was good stuff. That was so fun. Great. It was a fun time to be a fan.
Hit Vince with a bedpan. He said, I watched the thing and he said he tried to find the sweet spot of it where it didn't he's like, there's no sweet, there's no spot on that.
The sweet spot. I know. It's all
Man, you could argue Vince was probably one of the things that just kept the machine running as far as just, he was always the heel in the background.
And no issue being the heel,
He could do an angle with anyone at any time instantly and have all the reason in the world, Yeah. So he was great.
And a boss that would screw you over like he did to Brett. In his hometown. Not only do I want to screw him over, I want to embarrass him in his home. That's just all the thought. If you're thinking the worst about somebody that you're wrestling, those are the things that you're thinking, or someone, is that I want to, not only do I want to strip him of that title, I want to embarrass him in his home.
Man, what is up with that? Yeah. Vince is a strange character, man. I heard he said, I don't apologize. He just has weird standards, but it's also what makes him the way he is. But his heel stuff really was natural. It really was natural.
You could dissect everything he does, and you could write several books about. Yeah, he's great at what he does.
Yeah. Today, Paul and Erich praise Vince McMahon on their podcast.
Today, there are a couple, because there are some guys today, very few, some guys today that still live by that code of conduct for a heel, living it out in their daily life outside of the ring. If you saw them in Kroger or here in Texas at HEB, they would be the same person you see on TV. And I don't know that it's a tie. I just think it's in different ways. For me, the first one is MJF. I feel like that if for some reason I met him at a Goodwill or a food pantry, he would still be the biggest jerk in the entire room. They're doing something nice for other people. He'd find a way to make it awful for everybody involved trying to do something good. And Kevin Owens, like I mentioned him, I think that he's just hitting on all cylinders right now, turning on his best friend because he didn't help him cheat in a ladder match against Cody. He came down to check on him, but he didn't do anything to interfere in the match. Would he have gotten mad if Sami Zayn had done something in that match? I think they're always looking for the negative, and Kevin Owens is the epitome of that as well. But let's start with MJF. You guys have worked with MJF. You've been in a locker room with MJF, in the building, close proximity to MJF. Am I right? Does he live that life in and out of the ring?
Man, he's so intelligent. He's just really intelligent, and he understands. And I think he sees where wrestling's lacking nowadays, the believability as far as angles. That was fun to believe a heel. to really believe it. And he's one of the, not many guys do that. They stay in character. And I like that he stays in character and podcast, all that stuff. But I would say a lot of it is making the boys laugh. He's like a class clown. He's super smart. Yeah. And he's just cracking everybody up. He's one of the funniest guys ever. He's constantly cracking jokes and really witty, always ready, and it's funny to see how confident he is. Even we've been in locker rooms with him since he was in his early 20s, and the kid that he just is full of confidence. It's funny. It's funny to us how confident he is.
Yeah, man. He's great as far as like, his in-ring work. Obviously, everything just makes sense. He works body parts. Everything he does, there's a reason for it, and it means something. He's just so good for wrestling. Like we've kind of been a fan of his since day one, and so just bringing back the '80s heel vibe and into the modern era is like it's cool to see, man.
Does he go too far in the ring?
You could argue he does, but isn't that kind of your job? Like technically is to shock people, and
with the promos,
it's just what he's doing.
Yeah. I would personally think sometimes he can, just because he is so smart. He is so smart. I feel like it just comes naturally, and he's getting people to crack up and stuff. But there is some guys that you can tell don't have that confidence yet, and wouldn't be able to recover in the ring. And I guess MJF, he wouldn't be a great heel if he had a lot of mercy. So there's a reason he is who he is. Maybe I wouldn't be a good heel, because honestly, if I saw a guy sitting there and I could just roast him and he wasn't coming up with good comebacks, I would kind of set myself up to like be made fun of. One from,
yeah. But I tell you, I don't know where the line is once he walks through the curtain with MJF. He threw a drink in a kid's face. A kid. I've had a guy at a show one time steal my drink when I was a kid. I think it was Tony Anthony stole. It's like 3/4 full Dr. Pepper. You don't mess with Dr. Pepper either. Come on.
Oh, come on, man.
That's crossing the line.
Stole it from me. It was sitting on the floor in front of me, and threw it in the other guy's face. And I'm like, I don't have a drink now. I mean, they didn't even buy me a new drink. It was just
Should have held on to it tighter, man.
I guess so.
And I remember,
if I had thrown it in his face, I would have been kicked out, right?
You'd have been escorted out.
Absolutely,
yeah.
That's right. Absolutely.
Man, that is crazy. I saw MJF do something to a kid in a wheelchair. It popped up on a video one time, and I was like, "It's people were trying to hate on it, but the
MJF.
Got it.
But, people trying to hate on it. Like you can't. That's a fun part of being a heel. You can't really get canceled or hated on. It's your job. It's your job to be hated.
Yep.
One thing is I think there was kind of a rut for a little while where everybody was doing the cool edgy heel thing, like Marshall was saying, and for like I guess like in the past last like 10 years, like before like 2000, I guess 15 or whatever, the heels kind of started being really similar, and so it's kind of cool to see someone break the mold a little bit and be hateable. It's
and watch, there's gonna be a lot of people coming in behind them doing the same thing, because it's we've told this to a lot of heels, like, hey, make sure you jaw jack with the crowd, and make sure you talk crap to me while you're beating up my brother. Come mess with me, talk with me, just do your job. And that it really does make the match so difficult when we have to kind of do their job, because if a heel's not doing their job, then I can, if I'm clever about it, I can make the heel get involved, but it's just a lot easier when they know what they're doing. And guys like MJF, you don't have to worry about that. He's going to be there wherever you need him,
I sense that a little bit.
Yeah,
Who else am I missing today that you guys believe is a great heel?
I said The Miz. I really think The Miz will be remembered as one of the greats. I feel like just because we have him right now, and he's probably healing right now. It's whatever. But I feel like when he retires, they're going to see, because he can get anybody over. He can get heat anywhere he goes. I feel like he's everything you want And when it comes from a heel, like he can go out there and he can get heat, which is not everybody can do that.
Yeah, I mean, Edge was really good. I think, especially back in in the mid 2000s, early 2000s. He had some good stuff when we were watching. Jericho
was a fun heel to watch.
Yeah.
I love
Jericho's a great heel.
Yeah.
Jericho's doing a great job right now and just playing into that's what I love too, is that when they play into the crowd's reaction to them and they lean into it more. And Jericho's doing that a lot right now. I even heard the most recent show at HEB Center in Cedar Park the other night, is that, as soon as he walked out, there was a group next to me that started chanting, "Please retire." And he had addressed that recently. It's like, I love it.
He's doing something right, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some comments from some of you guys. Connie Hill 4483 said best heel was Gino Hernandez. He knew exactly how to get the crowd going. Gino was a great heel. And if you don't know that name, or if you haven't ever heard of Gino Hernandez, go back either on Peacock, but probably the best is to hit YouTube and just search Gino Hernandez WCCW, and you can watch some promos. He's great at promos. And it's also interesting, like the ones who are like Ric Flair, good looking guy, heel. Gino, good looking guy, heel. And it's the thing that they knew they were good looking and they thought they were better than every other guy. It really helped make him. Austin Sports Guy said best heel in the business right now, Kevin Owens. I love how personal and passionate he gets. The crowd boos him, but he's got so much righteous indignation that you can't help but see everything from his perspective. You can't argue against it. Great description. Yeah, you have to say, man, he kind of has a point. No one is better than KO. That's kind of something we addressed earlier.
I was say that kind of mirrors what you were saying, Anthony.
Yeah,
that's just true. And if other people feel like that, that's confirmation.
Yeah, for sure. Melinda Wilkinson, 1525. My top 5 heels are number 5, The Judgment Day. They were good. I didn't think they were great. I thought they were good. It still felt separate. Never felt like a heel group to me. Pretty Deadly, interesting heels, because they just play that. It's a different role, the effeminate role, and both guys are actually. I sat beside one of them coming back from WrestleMania. Super nice, by the way. He should have been a jerk the whole time, and it would probably help. I think if you're on a plane with people and tell them to move and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially if you see them wearing something, that they're a wrestling fan. If you can tell they're wrestling, play into those people, not people.
100%.
That'd be cool. New Day now, better heels. I like this new alignment of the New Day without Big E. But I think that's still yet to be seen if they're good heels or not. I know they started off kind of as heels, but they were kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like a happy heel, kind of like a little bit what Jericho is doing now, where it was smiling at everything, things that you're not supposed to be smiling at, they're smiling at.
Yeah, happy heel.
Yeah. DIY was number 2 for Melinda and number 1, Kevin Owens. So Melinda, Kevin. No offense, I don't agree with any of those except for number 1, which is Kevin Owens.
That's all that matters, though, I guess.
But I appreciate you chiming in. I mean, these are all opinions for sure. Andrew Berenson 5717 on YouTube said, my favorite heels, we haven't talked about these guys. This is pretty cool. Piper, Roddy Piper.
I know, man.
Yeah, how did we not talk about Roddy Piper?
Yeah, right. Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
Oh, good one. Yeah, great, actually.
Honky Tonk Man's good one. Freebirds, obviously. I don't know why we skipped Freebirds, because I mean they were the intent.
I know. I think that's it's obvious. Yeah, they're up there.
Exactly. Sometimes we skip the obvious. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Freebirds are awesome. Michael Hayes, incredible.
They're like made for each other, and their dynamic is perfect.
Yeah.
I don't want to use language here on the show, but it's a common term. And Freebirds were best at this. I'll just call it chicken crap heels. They always retreated. Until they saw they could get a pop shot in. So like if they could get a low blow in and run off, that's what Freebirds did. And that's a great
one. They took it. Yeah.
And last one from Andrew was MJF. That's a great one. Yeah, we talked about MJF.
It's a safe one
there. Good stuff there. If you have another one you want to add to this list, comment here on this episode of the Clawpaw. Something next week. It'll be the last Thursday of February, and we're going to go over something very interesting from World Class Championship Wrestling. We always 1 week we look back in time, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, your dad's going to join us.
That's
next
right.
week on the podcast.
You know, what's funny is Dad asked, he's like, y'all gonna ever have me back on the podcast? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, hurry up. I want to talk.
Do we just need to add him to? Does he just need to be on every week and come join us?
Yeah, he'd probably do it. He likes it.
Yeah, he'd be down.
We'll keep it special for now and have him on to talk about. And there's something very interesting that happened. It was when back. It doesn't really mean much today, but back in the day, every organization was under one umbrella, the National Wrestling Alliance. Now that's just another independent company. Then it was the governing body over all of wrestling. And it was time for World Class Championship Wrestling to break away and not be under that anymore and stand on their own. And it happened in February back in the day. And we're going to talk about that with Kevin next week here on the podcast. Looking forward to that, guys.
Me too.
Yeah, it'll be good, man. Yeah,
that would be good.
Thank you guys for joining us here on the Claw Pod. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit subscribe. If you haven't hit like or notification button, you can do that too. If you're listening right now, thank you for listening. Hit subscribe wherever you've taken this podcast, and we'll see you next week here on the Claw Pod. Thanks, guys.